Chapter 140. The Different Levels of Scary Scenarios. Wang Wen Long sat in the old well with his fists punching the air before him. It looked like he was in the middle of a boxing match. "Stand here and don't move. I'll go and pull him out," Chen Ge told Pei Hu. Wang Wen Long heard him and stopped moving. Like a traumatized victim, he lifted his head upwards dumbly. When his pair of lifeless eyes caught Pei Hu, they started to focus. His body shaking with anger, Wang Wen Long seemed to escape from the thing that had taken hold of him earlier, and he yelled at Pei Hu, "You fucker! You dare come back to face me?" "Listen to me. It was a dangerous situation. If I didn't run, we both would have been in danger." "You lie?" "It's true. I used myself as bait to lure the scariest threat away. If you don't believe me, ask the boss." Pei Hu felt wronged. Being targeted by a mannequin head and frozen under the bed for 10 minutes, those who had not experienced that before had no idea how scary it was. "Keep your voices low. You can continue the argument outside." Seeing how spirited Wang Wen Long was, Chen Ge sighed in relief. "Come, give me your hand." Wang Wen Long stopped shouting when he saw Chen Ge. "I can't. My lower body is numb." "Numb?" Chen Ge jumped into the well, and with Pei Hu's cooperation, they hauled Wang Wen Long out. After saving the guy, Chen Ge did not hurry to leave. He had inspected the well when he placed the name tags that morning. Other than the two mannequins, there was nothing particularly scary about. Outside the well, Wang Wen Long and Pei Hu had started the argument anew. Chen Ge squatted down to examine the mannequins' faces. The male mannequin's eyes were open, which was different from that morning. The mannequins buried inside the well should represent Fan Yu's parents. If they are baleful specters, it would not be so easy to deal with. Thankfully, they are just lingering spirits. Chen Ge was reminded of what had happened to Fei Yu Liang. His body had been taken over by the pen spirit, who wanted to escape, but he had been stopped by the 20 or so spirits in the sealed classroom. The spirits had entered his body and controlled him to walk to the deep well. They had seemed prepared to punish the pen spirit, but stopped at the last moment. The mistake lay with the pen spirit. The other spirits dragged her to the well to punish her. Did they plan to throw her inside the well? Chen Ge looked at Fan Yu's parents, who were buried in the sand, and his suspicion was confirmed. The old well seemed to be some sort of prison for evil lingering spirits. Now that I think about it, the lingering spirits in the sealed classroom have quite a strong sense of justice. All the spirits had been orphans when they were alive. They had been adopted by the old headmaster, and they treated Muang High School as their home. Now that Chen Ge's black phone had reconstructed Muang High School inside the haunted house, these lingering spirits probably just wanted to have a stable and peaceful life here. "As long as you do not do anything out of line, my haunted house will be your new home." Chen Ge looked at the mannequins buried in the sand and jumped out of the well. When he turned back to look inside the well, the eyes of the two mannequins were closed again. "Come, it's time to walk you out." Chen Ge helped Wang Wen Long get up from the floor. The fear in his eyes had not dissipated. The only reason he could appear so spirited earlier was because his anger at seeing Pei Hu had suppressed all the other emotions. After wasting a ton of energy, Chen Ge finally managed to drag these 5 people out of Muang High School. When the curtains to the haunted house opened, the surrounding visitors all took a cold gasp. They had heard the incessant screaming coming from inside the haunted house, but they had never envisioned things being so bad. What have these people experienced? It was only half an hour. Uncle Shu, who was serious in his role as the ticket seller, felt everyone's eyes focusing behind him. He had a bad feeling, and when he turned around, his hair stood on end. Damn! What happened to them? Uncle Shu abandoned his post and ran over to help Wang Haolong and Xiao Meili. "Just a little scare, it's nothing serious." Chen Ge released his grasp on Wang Wen Long's arm. "Can you walk on your own?" When they heard Chen Ge, the visitors all took a step back. "He could not even walk, and you say that's a little scare? Are you trying to lie to us?" Wang Wen Long was embarrassed with the crowd watching him. He waddled forward 2 steps like a baby learning how to walk. "Wen Long, Pei Hu!" A large fella in a tank top pushed through the crowd. He had the tattoo of a wolf's head on his shoulder. He rushed over to support Wang Wen Long. "What happened to all of you?" I heard your screams from outside. Chen Ge glanced at the man. He was the group's sixth member. According to their plan, now was the time for the man to challenge the haunted house alone. Were we that loud? Wang Wen Long prayed for a hole for him to hide in as he brushed the man's hands off him. Since Wang Wen Long did not seem like he wanted to explain, he turned to Chen Ge. What have you done to my brother? Brother? Chen Ge thought the man's tone was a bit weird, but he did not take it to heart. He took one step forward to face the crowd. I told all of you before they entered that the scenarios are separated into levels. Only by passing the earlier scenarios will you be able to stomach the fear levels of the later scenarios, but they refused to listen to me and insisted on trying it. You can see the result of that for yourselves. Standing before the haunted house, Chen Ge ignored the muscular man, and his expression turned serious. When I suggested to delineate the scenarios into levels, many suspected I was trying to cheat you out of your money, but that is really not the case. I simply want to protect my customers because the newly opened 2-star scenario is not suitable for everyone. Its scare factor is much higher than other haunted houses available on the market. Chen Ge gripped the gate of the haunted house. Western Zhujiang's haunted house has been in operation for several years already, and from the beginning until now, our rating has never dipped under 90%, and that is because we put our customers first. As long as you are willing to try, we will give you the scariest time you'll experience in your life. But have you considered this? Everyone's fear threshold is different. We strive for the ultimate scare. But for those who haven't visited a haunted house before, certain scenarios might be a bit too much. Thus, after much consideration, we decided to set the rules to split the scenarios into levels. The new rules had to be accepted by the visitors, and what Chen Ge was doing then was introducing the rules to the visitors and making them accept the rules. On one hand, he used reward money to make people want to challenge the hard scenario. On the other hand, he made use of Wang Haolong's group as a lesson to warn future visitors of the consequence from not following the rules. If you want to win the reward, then you have to follow the haunted house's rules. Start with the low-level scenarios before you challenge the scarier ones. Once this rule was put into place, all of the scenarios inside the haunted house would be put to good use. And most importantly, as long as he could unlock more scenarios with higher scream factors, the level of attraction it would have for a certain type of visitors would increase, and this would lay the foundation for the scary theme park. Chapter 141. Who Speaks First? The live example of Wang Haolong's group lent credibility to Chen Ge's words. This is the first time I've heard of a haunted house being delineated into levels, but the boss's explanation is indeed professional. I know it is for our own good, but I still wish to try the scariest scenario. The visitors talked among themselves before accepting the new rules. Chen Ge sighed in relief and led Wang Haolong's group to the spot where the medical students had once fainted. How are you feeling? Shall we call the doctor? Thanks, but we're feeling much better. The one who spoke was Wang Haolong. His lips were purple and his face was white. His eyes were unfocused and they were covered with a film of mist. At least you're conscious enough to speak, so you're indeed all right. Chen Ge squatted down beside Wang Haolong. Actually, you're lucky. The last person who tried this scenario is still in the hospital. Brother Long flashed a bitter smile. Are you trying to console me? I'm just telling you the truth. Chen Ge took the name tags away from them and turned to tell Uncle Shu, let's go. Looking at this familiar scene, Uncle Shu was considering building a rest stop beside the haunted house. Making the visitors keep lying on the floor was not good for the park's image. He was quite angry initially. However, after listening to Chen Ge's explanation, he felt the young man had a point. With the separation of levels, the cases of fainting visitors would decrease. After examining Wang Haolong's condition personally and making sure they were all right, he followed Chen Ge. Xiao Chen, did you plan this beforehand? Are you sure you want to separate the scenarios into levels? This will increase the haunted house's overall income, but have you considered it might lose some potential customers? This must happen. Chen Ge stood firm on his position. I've explained why I'm doing this. This is a protective measure for the visitors. There will be more scenarios in the future, and some of them might be too much for normal visitors. Since you know they might be too much, why don't you edit them? After all, the aim is to serve the majority of people. Uncle Shu's argument was not wrong. It was just a little conservative. Some things can't be edited. You'll understand in the future. Chen Ge walked for a while before remembering something. Uncle Shu, do we have any extra surveillance devices in the park storage? We have some spare ones, but not many. Why? I wish to borrow a few to install them in the underground parking lot. The new scenario currently has no surveillance, and I don't feel that good about it. Borrow the surveillance devices? Just what kind of person can come up with something like that? Uncle Shu shrugged. Lending them is impossible, but selling them to you at a second-hand price is doable. However, I cannot touch anything in storage without permission. I'll go ask Director Luo this afternoon. Your haunted house has the potential to be this park's top attraction, so I believe he will agree. The two returned to the haunted house. Uncle Shu continued to sell tickets, while Chen Ge replaced all the name tags before entering the murder by midnight scenario to act as the murderer. There were a few groups who challenged Muang High School, but most of them did not even dare enter the sealed classroom. Muang High School did not have a steel door, but only wooden boards as entrance, so if the visitors were afraid, they could leave at any moment. There were not many who were as courageous as Wang Haolong's group, so there were no further accidents. During the lunch break, Chen Ge removed the outfit and walked out of the haunted house. Wang Haolong and his brother were walking toward him. Why are you two still here? Want to give it a second go? Chen Ge was only joking, but the siblings shook their heads vehemently. No, not that. We acted rashly this morning. I hope you don't mind. Your tone is completely different from before. Tell me, what do you want? Chen Ge was not someone who had just entered society. Wang Haolong, who was normally so direct, appeared so bashful suddenly. Actually, Wen Long and I have a younger brother called Wang Long. Before he was 5, he was just like any other kid, very playful. However, for some reason, when he turned 5, he suddenly went mute. He refused to speak. Our father has tried many ways, going to the doctors, even visiting fortune tellers, but none worked. What is your point exactly? Chen Ge was confused about why a 5-year-old would suddenly turn mute and what that had to do with him. Long story short, Wang Haolong made sure no one was eavesdropping before he leaned in toward Chen Ge. Boss, I saw a scary girl in your haunted house earlier. She was hanging behind my back, her feet stepping on my shoulders. This scenario was exactly the same as my little brother's description of the night before the strange thing happened to him. Wang Wen Long leaned in as well. It's true. That night, the 3 of us were sleeping in the same room. After midnight, our little brother suddenly sat up in bed, saying someone was standing on his shoulders, begging us to move the person away. At the time, we thought he was toying with us, but the next morning he had forgotten how to speak. He could make sounds, but could not finish complete sentences. Wang Haolong touched his shoulder and continued in shaking voice. Since he lost his voice, we had him write down what he wanted to say. The thing he wrote was scary, to say the least. He saw someone outside the walls the previous night, and the person was staring at him. For some reason, the person then entered the house. That's scary? Chen Ge had experienced worse. When we were young, we stayed at a village. The walls were 2.5 meters tall. If there was really someone staring at him from the wall, the person had to be at least 2.6 meters tall. Is that even a person anymore? That's the point. Wang Haolong tried to explain it. The scariest thing was that the person entered the house easily and asked our little brother to play with him. If he rejected, then he would take something away from him. Did your brother reject the person? His voice was taken away? Chen Ge guessed. No, it's not that. My little brother agreed to play. The game they played is called Who Speaks First. After my little brother nodded, the monster climbed on my little brother's shoulders, and it became even taller.